Hey guys, it's Elaine. How are you doing? Yes, I've been gone quite a while, but in case nobody's noticed, this past year or so was something of a shit show. And what can I say? Auntie Moo needed to take a little time off just to get to the point of feeling like I could continue creating. And what you're looking at is a challenge that I undertook. The University of Chicago Art+Life program, or their organization, put out a call to artists in June, about the middle of June, saying that they were creating an art lawn on the 300 East block of Garfield Boulevard near Washington Park here on the South Side, and asked if people would submit artwork that could be put on the fence that would surround the art lawn area as it's being constructed. And it's due to go up in September and stay there until mid-summer of next year, according to their website. Anyway, the information they gave us was kind of sketchy, saying that the finished artwork would need to be able to be digitized or scanned in, I guess is a way of saying it, and it would have to be anywhere between 100 to 200 feet long, which is fine, but they didn't tell us how tall. I assumed that the fence that will be surrounding the area they're working on will probably be anywhere between 8 to 10 feet, maybe a little taller. So what I did was I took a piece of comic book art or manga board, which is 11 by 17, scaled it down a bit because they asked for a banner. But like I said, they didn't give us the full dimensions of what they wanted, just that it had to be able to expand between 100 to 250 feet, which, only tells you how wide, not how tall. So whoever put that together, wasn't quite paying attention. But anyway, they also didn't tell us exactly what the art needed to entail. I then chose to do a representation of the park, Washington Park itself. And there are two Washington Parks on the South Side. One is in Hyde Park and one is in the Washington Park area, bordered by the Woodlawn area and what is called Washington Park. And the Washington Park area extends where you could say 50th Place, maybe 49th Street to the north, Drexel, the west side of Drexel to the east, maybe 61st Street to the south, and as far as maybe west is maybe State Street, though the park itself is bordered by 51st, Cottage Grove, 60th, and Martin Luther King Drive. And so I wanted to do first a layout of the physical border of the park, and then within that border, representation. I created panels that would serve as representations of either landmarks or events, cultural events that happen within the park, and offer a positive effect to the community, or at least don't offer any harm to it. So the first thing I started was, as you see, I'm working on the borders. I was having trouble with my paint bucket fill. Every time I would draw an outline and click within it, it would go, it turn the whole page yellow. And I finally just said, okay, fine, screw it. I'll just, I'll just color these in by hand. I'll just do it manually because I don't want to fight this thing. I've got too much to do. And I am working on so many layers with this piece. I usually, at most, do anywhere between 2 to 4 layers. And that's even when I'm working on, excuse me, comic book pages or graphic novel pages. I don't like working on a lot of layers because you're constantly, or at least for me, you know, I'm 60. So I'm not like a lot of you children who can work on, you know, 50 to 100 layers and not lose their place. I lose my place. And so I try to keep the amount of layers I do down. But for this piece, I had to do quite a few layers because, as you can see, I'm doing the border. That was an initial layer. Then I had to do all the background colors for the individual panels. That went on a layer. Then all the foreground images for those panels is another layer. And then I did the 4 corners, which represent the 4 seasons, things you'll see in the park during the changing of the seasons, from the lovely little monk parakeets that live wild here on the south side of Chicago and are now spreading to the north and west sides as well. How these little guys survive our winters is beyond me, but they do. And, you know, it's like, and it just tells you life goes on, even in the harshest of situations. You know, life, as they said in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. And to me, that's a thing of hope. You know, if the little parrots can do it, hell, the rest of us can surely figure out a way to adapt. Because the parrots, you know, what a lot of people don't say is the first rule of evolution, it isn't survival of the fittest, it's adapt or die, you know, which is what evolution is. It's life adapting to its, you know, to its environment. And you either adapt to the environment that you're in or you croak out. And these parrots have just managed to, they're not just surviving, but they're thriving. And I think that's a cool thing. Anyway, the corner opposite the parrots are some of the lovely flowers that you find. And I don't know what type of flowers these are, but they have these gorgeous purple flowers that they plant in front of the DuSable Museum. At least last time I was there, they had them. And, you know, and I thought, ooh, some little butterflies, you know, they're perfect in the summer. They're just, it's a color, it's beautiful. And if anybody who has ever heard of Alice Walker will know, she wrote a wonderful book called The Color Purple. You know, because there's that question. I wonder if God, you know, gets angry if people see the color purple and don't acknowledge it. I'm acknowledging the color purple and blue. So there, yes, I put in a literary reference. I do that a lot. But the corner below that is a representation of the geese here on the south and the west sides. Oh my God, the Canadian geese during the late fall, early winter months, they just take over the city. And the only things, you know, it's just, you see them any place there's grass and a pool of water they can gang around. You'll see them geese. It's just, you know, they're totally gangster. They're like the parrots, you know. You think we can't live here? You watch us. And I think they're absolutely cool for that because they don't care. It's like, yeah, y'all let coyotes run around in the parks, think that'll stop us? Please. We're not scared of no coyotes. You know? And they're not. They really, people are more scared of the coyotes in the park and need to be than the geese are, because the coyotes, they've attacked children. So it's not the safest thing in our park. Don't go hanging out in any major park in the city at night, because that's where the coyotes are. But I did not do any coyotes for this piece. They didn't feel, as I was working on it, the coyote spirit was like, I don't want to be there. So it's like, okay, well, fine. You got to, And then I decided to work on each of the panels. And each of the panels, like I said, they represent either a place or an event that happens within the actual park itself. So at the far left, there's Diet Academy. I'm sorry, not high school, a Diet Academy of the Arts. And I wanted to represent it with its school colors, which are gold and black. And then the symbol, the classic symbol of the theater, which are the masks representing comedy and tragedy. And understand, the visuals I'm putting in here, in many ways serve not as an actual map. In other words, if you go here, you'll see this. If you go there, you'll see that. No, because I didn't list the areas that you can find these things in the park. But people who live in the area I hope, will be able to see these things and get the representations and go, oh, gold and black, that must be Diet. Oh, that next one, the Humvee and the colors, that must be the old Armory. And the next one, oh, red, black, and green, food, music, clothing and stuff. Oh, that's gotta be, the African Arts Festival that happens every year. And then, a brother playing basketball. And then next to that, the Universal Circus. And then next to that, a playground for the kids, because there isn't a park in the city that doesn't have a playground in it, thankfully. Some of them you can't go to at certain hours because there are elements in the city that have forgotten how to dream, or, And there are people, I don't care what color or financial situation you are, there are people who, when they feel their dreams have been trampled on, will trample on everyone else's and just not care. That's just, that's been the history of the world. and it happens, gangs happen in rich neighborhoods just like they happen in poor neighborhoods. The only difference is when rich kids get busted for trashing people's homes or stealing their cars and whatnot, their mommies and daddies and lawyers and accountants and whatnot to take care of it. Make sure they don't do any, that they don't actually get convicted. And they can go to college and whatnot because, hey, he doesn't have the grades, but I'll pay you to let him in, and he'll claim that he played, claim that he played a sport that school doesn't even have. But, that's a whole nother video, and we're not going to go there. I'm just saying there are elements in society that exist at all levels. And so as much as people will scream that, oh, this element, well, you know what? That element can be found in various places in various different forms. So no one group has, no one group has the upper hand in that regard, and crime. As a friend of mine whose husband works for the police force, when I talked about wanting to move ultimately to Hyde Park, pointed out, oh, crime goes on in Hyde Park and on the Gold Coast. It's just it happens at a higher, higher economic level, and so it's easier to hide than when people are poor. Oh goodness, I'm still going through that COVID cough. It's the one thing I don't think I'll ever totally lose. But anyway, we also have, as I said, a representation of the Universal Circus. Oh my goodness. I need a nap. But I'm not re-recording this because I've recorded this several times. And what I like about the circus is it has the same thing Ringling Brothers does. It has lion tamers, and it has elephants and clowns and acrobats and high wire acts. They just all happen to be black. So little black kids can come and see people who look like them doing that, which gives them the ability to visualize another possibility. You know, because what people forget is people will stoop to crime and whatnot when they feel that their possibilities are gone. You know, why dare dream if the thing you're dreaming about isn't likely to happen for whatever reason? You know, you're not the right color, right economic level, education level, whatever. So yeah, giving kids a chance to see something that looks like them, that they can say, oh, that's a possibility. Now, yeah, they may not look at the lion taper and say, yeah, I want to work with something that could bite my head off. But it lets them know that there are possibilities, that what they see every day in the neighborhood isn't all there is. And that is an amazing thing in and of itself. You know, and then next to the playground is a representation of a mask that's on display at the DuSable Museum of African American History and Art. The DuSable Museum is one of those places like the Anne Frank Museum in Germany that I think all people should go to. It talks about our history here in America, not just the great things, but also the not great things. You know, the things that people would really rather we didn't talk about, like slavery, like the Ku Klux Klan, Jim Crow and whatnot. When you have to be able to look at something as a whole in order to truly understand it and see it as a whole thing. And when you can't do that, you then make that thing other and somehow unacceptable. And so I really am trying to give representation to the neighborhood, not just to those who live in it every day, who know about the things that are there, but also people who have, you know, you see something in the news. Oh, you can't go to that side of town because, you know, they're shooting each other, they're stealing cars. You know, it's always something. Yeah, there's always something everywhere. Some people hide their stuff better than others. That's all. You know, but there's beauty too. There are interesting things to be found. There's culture. And it may not always be the culture you prefer or expect, but that doesn't mean that it's not there. And in its own right, it doesn't have some sort of, what's the correct word I want to use here? You can tell I'm not working with a thesaurus. It has, it's like to say it has a right to be. Maybe that's the way. I know there's a better word for it, but right off the top of my head, I'm not finding that word. But to be able to say it, you know, just because it's not your culture. And yes, there are things about certain aspects of black culture I don't agree with. But that doesn't necessarily, I mean, I'm not into gangster rap, but you know, at the same time, me not being into gangster rap doesn't make it any less valid. That's it. That's the word. You know, just because it's not your cup of tea doesn't take away its validity. And these are things that are valid within the neighborhood. And so I wanted to depict these things because this is culture that is here already. And the final panel is something that's close to my heart. I am going to do a depiction of what I call the Gray Ladies, which are gray stone Queen Victorian houses that you see in Chicago, especially on the south side. You can see them on the west and north sides too, but they are definitely a fixture of the south side. And if you go to neighborhoods like Bronzeville, especially the Washington Park neighborhood, especially around King Drive between 35th and say 61st, you will find a lot of these great old lovely ladies, as I call them, because they stand there like queens, you know, and they say, even the ones that are kind of crumbling, they just stand there and, you know, with the attitude of, you better recognize. And I adore them for that. I love those buildings, and I wanted to include them because they're part of the neighborhood, and they border the area, and they give the neighborhood, like the parrots, like the geese, like the trees in winter, and the flowers in the summer, and the festivals, and the landmarks. They give the area its flavor. You take away any one of those things, and you take away a bit of what makes that area what it is. Sorry, yeah, I'm constantly clearing my throat. But, you know, it just makes the area a little less so. And this was kind of my way of telling the people that live there, as well as those who go by, that this isn't a place where other people have to come and bring us culture. We have culture. You know, we have culture. This neighborhood has flavor. You may not appreciate it, but it's there. So, you know, accept and learn to deal. And that's one of, at least in many ways, it is the main, I guess you can say it's my main message for this piece. And this piece took a couple of weeks to do. I had to work every day on this piece. And I have hours and hours and hours of material. And I had thought I would just do one video, but this is the first day's work that I'm doing here, and it's hours of work. And I realized as I'm doing it that if I tried to put this all in one video, you wouldn't understand what was happening. Nothing would make sense. It would be like the initial part that I scanned in, which I sketched out using pencil, and then started coloring in just to get some ideas of where I wanted to go in regards to the rhythm of the piece, as well as the overall color of the colors in the piece, using alcohol and watercolor markers and a little colored pencil. Once I had an idea of the type of colors I wanted to use and where I was going to go, and the fact that I made a really big boo-boo on the panel with the brother playing basketball, I realized, okay, I'm going to just go ahead and scan this in and start working on it digitally, or else I will never get this piece done. Because like I said, I got the notification in a newsletter that they sent me because I'd gone to one of the concerts that the organization had put on. Lovely jazz concert. I really had fun. And I had signed up for their newsletter, and I'd gotten the newsletter. And it's so funny because I went to this concert right before the quarantine was in set, because it was like a way of celebrating my birthday month. And then it was like, oh, we're gonna quarantine. It's like, oh shit. So, you know, so much for having this space where I could go see, you know, free concerts and enjoy myself. But, you know, we are made of stern stuff, And you learn to, again, adapt or die. It is the primary rule of evolution. You adapt or die. And so had to get used to it. But this past June, I got the notification in a newsletter saying this is what we're planning to do. And I realized that, it was one of those things where I read it and it stuck with me and it kept staying in my brain of this is something I should do. And so I got up, and because I had gone back to writing on the And the Coming of Nighttime script. I was actually working on the script, but the ideas for this kept jigging in my brain, and I finally said, okay, fine, I'm going to quit fighting, and I'm going to see what I can, put together here. And of course, the minute I started working on it, the minute it just really kept going and the ideas kept coming, and I had to read and reread what instructions they did give, because like I said, they didn't tell us what they wanted us to depict. They just gave us like that one dimension and the different mediums you could use, but they didn't say what they wanted to see depicted. So it was, okay, well then, because they're making it sound like they're bringing culture to the neighborhood, as if it never existed there before. Let's address culture. Let's address what it means to be in this neighborhood. And I kind of went from there, and the ideas kept pouring out, and I finally narrowed everything down to these 8 panels and the borders and the corners, and then realized I was going to have to do a ton of layers, because there's the layer for the strips that represent the borders of the park. The background colors for all the panels are on one layer. All the foreground images for those panels are on another. Each of those 4 corners are together on one layer. And then, of course, as you'll see later in another video, when I put the text in, each line of text that'll go on there has its own layer. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers just for the text. So in the end, I think I did about 8 or 9 different layers, which is way more layers than I ever do. I don't like to work in that many layers. It just, I forget which layer I'm on sometimes, and it makes me a little crazy. And so this in many ways stretched me, especially since I hadn't drawn in forever, except for a few exercises to kind of keep my basic skills up. So this was a big test for me. This was really sort of going past my comfort zone, as it was, and saying, okay, I haven't really done any serious drawing in forever, but I'm gonna get up off my ass and see if I can't put this thing together and make some sense of it. And so I did, and I am happy with myself for having taken up the challenge. And before you ask, no, I don't know. This is due, the temporary installation on the fence is due to go up in September and stay up until sometime in the summer of next year. That's all I know. I haven't been contacted by anyone to say, hey, Elaine, we've chosen your work, or no, thanks for entering, but we haven't. And I've tried to contact them and have gotten nowhere. No, the one person I actually talked to doesn't seem to know anything about this particular little project, and the person that he connected me with wasn't even in her office. So, what can I say? So there. So I don't know. So as of today, which is the 16th of August, I can't tell you what my status is as an applicant. And I've tried to find out. I've sent emails, contacted them on Facebook and Twitter, and still nothing. So I'm going to just have to let it be until, you know, somebody gets hold of me. But in the meantime, I at least have all these videos so you can see what I've been up to. So, you know, I'm going to kind of call this a win. No, I don't get the $1,000. No, I don't get to have my artwork posted so people driving or walking by can see it. But, you know, I've got shit to show. So I guess that's something. And if you're still here, you know, thank you. Please like, subscribe. I don't have Patreon or anything, so I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not asking for donations or whatnot. This channel is to just show the work I'm doing, and whether it's stuff of my own projects or commissions like the Kooky Story pieces. You know, it's just a way of chronicling who I am and what I've done. You know, I guess it's a way of me saying, hey, I'm not nothing. And so, as again, thank you for being on this journey with me, and I hope you'll come and see the next videos, and I'll talk about, you know, I'll talk more about the process and the inspiration and whatnot. And if you've got questions, leave them in the comments. You know, if there's something you want to know, something you want to say, leave it in the comments. If you get shitty though, you know, I'll just drop your ass out, because, you know, I'm 60 and I ain't gotta give fucks if I don't want to. But anyway, thank you. Have a good one. Bye.